Chapter 6: Remote Income Plans, Freelance, Consulting, and Contract Work. Chapter 5 ended with a blunt truth. Relocation is a multiplier, not a substitute. A lower-cost-based country can extend runway and reduce stress, but it doesn't automatically create cash flow. In the 2026 to 2030 AI labor shock, the winners aren't just the people who find a job. They're the people who rebuild income systems that still work when hiring freezes, credential inflation, and automated screening become the default. This chapter is about turning your geographic foundation into remote income without pretending the old job market is coming back. For a U.S. citizen household with roughly $500K in capital, the goal is not to hustle harder. The goal is to build a realistic remote income stack that pays in hard currency, often USD, is portable across borders, is resilient to AI commoditization, and doesn't require you to bet the entire household on a single employer. Freelance, consulting, and contract work are not consolation prizes. In a disrupted labor market, they become the most direct way to turn experience into revenue, because they bypass slow HR pipelines and sell outcomes to people with budgets. But you must approach them differently than you did in 2019. You're not selling time. You're selling risk reduction, speed, and judgment, then using AI tools to deliver faster, more consistently, and with higher margins. The new remote work reality, 2026 to 2030, what actually sells? A useful way to think about the AI era is this: the market is getting better at purchasing outputs and less willing to pay for inputs. Companies are less impressed by effort, tenure, and generic titles because AI makes it easier for smaller teams to produce more. At the same time, the consequences of mistakes, security gaps, compliance failures, broken customer experiences, brand damage haven't disappeared. In many sectors, they've intensified. That creates an opportunity for experienced people who can package outcomes into a simple offer. Why freelance consulting contract work can beat job searching. Traditional job search is a queue. You compete in a slow system optimized to reduce employer risk, not to maximize your speed to income. It's also increasingly filtered by automated processes that reward keyword matches and conventional backgrounds. Contracting and consulting are a market. You compete by being clear, fast, and low risk. You can talk directly to decision makers, propose a small first step, and get paid sooner. In the AI labor shock, shorter commitments become attractive to both sides. Employers want flexibility and want to avoid long-term wage commitments. Workers want optionality and want to avoid being trapped in a single fragile income stream. Your 500K is not meant to replace income. It's meant to buy time to rebuild income without panic. Remote contracting is often the fastest bridge. The 4 categories of remote work that stay valuable. Remote income tends to hold up best in 4 categories. 1. Revenue-adjacent work. Anything tied to sales, retention, pricing, onboarding, conversion, partnerships, customer success, funnel optimization, proposal support. 2. Risk and compliance work. Security, privacy, audits, vendor risk, incident response planning, documentation, regulated operations, policy design. 3. Systems integration and operations. Make the tools work together. Automations, data pipelines, internal tooling, process design, analytics, dashboards that executives trust. 4. Decision support and packaging judgment. Strategy is often too vague, but decision support is concrete. Market scans, competitive analysis, product requirements, procurement evaluation, due diligence for small acquisitions, scenario modeling for a CFO. AI can assist in all 4, but it doesn't eliminate the human value: domain context, prioritization, stakeholder management, and accountability. The trap: competing where AI made supply infinite. Many people try remote income by offering what is easiest to describe: generic copywriting, generic web design, generic social media management, generic data analysis, generic AI prompts. These markets get flooded because the barrier to entry is low and AI accelerates delivery. Prices compress, clients churn, and you end up in a treadmill. The strategy is not avoid AI. The strategy is to pick work where AI increases your output, but doesn't fully replace the reason the client pays. A remote income stack. Don't bet the household on one stream. In earlier decades, the standard plan was one stable job, benefits, and a side hustle. In 2026 to 2030, that model is less reliable. A better structure is an income stack, several streams with different failure modes. A practical remote income stack might look like base layer, stable, retainer consulting for 1 to 2 clients, predictable monthly revenue. Growth layer, variable, short projects 2 to 6 weeks with higher effective rates. Option layer, asymmetric, performance bonuses, rev share on a small product, or a small equity advisory role, not your main cash flow. Safety layer, occasional boring contract work you can pick up quickly, implementation, documentation, support, if the pipeline slows. You are building redundancy the way Chapter 2 built financial tiers. The goal is to reduce single point of failure risk. The ratio that keeps you sane. A common failure mode is taking too many small gigs and drowning in admin. Another is chasing one big client and panicking when it ends. A robust middle ground for many households is one primary client at 40 to 60% of capacity, one secondary client at 20 to 30%, the remaining 10 to 40% reserved for pipeline, learning, and short projects. This creates stability without captivity. Choosing your lane, freelance versus consulting versus contract. These words are often used interchangeably, but your positioning and pricing change depending on the lane you pick. Freelance, you deliver a defined artifact. Freelance is I will deliver X, a website, a set of designs, a deck, a video package, a migration, a set of dashboards, a sequence of emails, a financial model. Pros, easier to sell, easier to scope, easier to start. Cons, easier to commoditize, price pressure, client can compare you to a marketplace. Freelance works best when you have a specialized niche, a repeatable deliverable, a fast turnaround. Contract work, you join a team temporarily. Contracting is I will be your team member for a period. It's often hourly or daily, with stand-ups, internal tools, and ongoing tasks. Pros, steady, lower selling burden once in, closer to employment without full commitment. Cons, can become time for money, can drift into low-leverage tasks, can create tax and compliance complexity, depending on location and client. Contract work works best when you have a high-demand functional skill, the ability to integrate quickly, strong communication and reliability. Consulting, you reduce risk and accelerate outcomes. Consulting is, I will solve a business problem. You diagnose, propose, and implement, or guide implementation. You're paid for judgment, speed, and accountability. Pros, highest pricing potential, less commoditized, easier to productize into retainers. Cons, requires credibility, tighter communication, and the ability to manage stakeholders. Consulting works best when you have experience that maps to executive concerns, the ability to define a clear outcome, the discipline to scope and manage expectations. In the AI labor shock, consulting tends to be the best long-run model because the client isn't paying for tasks. They're paying to avoid expensive mistakes and get results quickly. Your offer, from skills to outcomes, the most important shift. Most remote workers market themselves like a resume. I'm a data analyst with 8 years of experience. I do marketing. I'm a software engineer. That's not a buying unit. It forces the client to do the work of turning your background into a decision. Instead, you want a one-sentence offer that includes who you help, what outcome you deliver, the constraint, time, compliance, budget, headcount, and the mechanism, how you do it. Examples: customize, don't copy. I help B2B SaaS teams reduce churn by fixing onboarding and customer health scoring in 30 days. I help small healthcare vendors pass security questionnaires and prep for audits without hiring a full-time compliance lead. I help e-commerce operators rebuild paid acquisition reporting so they can make decisions with confidence after tracking changes. Notice what's missing. A list of tools. Tools matter, but tools don't close deals. Outcomes close deals. The painkiller, not vitamin rule. In tight labor markets, budgets shift toward painkillers. Revenue problems, risk problems, outages, regulatory deadlines, executive visibility. Nice to have work still exists, but it's harder to sell and easier to delay. When you write your offer, force it into one of these buckets. Make money, save money, reduce risk, reduce time to delivery, improve reliability, quality. If you can't fit your offer into one of those, it's probably too vague. Productize your first step. People in shock want low-risk decisions. Your job is to make the first yes easy. Instead of "let's talk about how I can help," propose a paid diagnostic or sprint, a 10-day audit, a 2-week prototype, a 1-week fix the top 3 issues sprint. This turns sales into an operational decision. Small scope, clear deliverable, fixed price. Later, you can convert into a retainer or a larger project. Pricing and packaging. Stop thinking hourly first. Hourly pricing is not wrong, but in the AI era, it has 2 problems. 1, AI increases your speed, which can punish you if you bill hourly. 2, clients often want certainty more than they want precision. A better progression is 1, start with simple pricing, hourly or day rate to get moving. 2, move to fixed scope packages for repeatable work. 3, add retainers for ongoing value and stability. 4, use performance components cautiously when measurement is clean and trust is high. A practical rate anchor for 500K households. Your target isn't maximize rate. It's maximize stability per unit stress. A useful anchor is to back into a required monthly contribution to household runway. For example, if you need $6,000 a month to cover baseline expenses in a low-cost base, and you want $2,000 a month for buffer and reinvestment, your remote income target might be $8,000 a month. From there, decide how many billable days/hours you can realistically sustain, not aspirationally. Many people overestimate their billable capacity because they forget admin, sales, and context switching. A conservative model is 20 workdays per month, 8 hours a day, 160 hours. But only 60 to 90 hours are truly billable once you include acquisition and overhead. That implies you need a higher effective rate than you think, or you need packages/retainers that pay for outcomes rather than minutes. Retainers, the anti-panic tool. Retainers are powerful because they stabilize cash flow, reduce sales time, and reduce the emotional volatility that causes bad decisions with your 500K. A retainer doesn't have to be huge. It just has to be predictable and valuable. Common retainer formats. Capacity retainer. You get up to X hours days per month. Response within Y. Outcome retainer. Each month we deliver A, B, C, and maintain D. Advisory retainer. 2 calls per month, plus async review of key materials. Retainers are also easier to sell after a successful sprint. The sprint proves competence. The retainer maintains momentum. Finding clients when everyone is also looking. Channels that still work. In a disrupted job market, platforms fill up and cold outreach gets noisier. The answer isn't to network more in a vague way. The answer is to pick channels where trust and specificity still cut through. Channel 1. Your weak ties, the fastest route. The highest conversion leads are usually people who already know you or know someone who knows you. Not necessarily close friends, often former colleagues, vendors, customers, and acquaintances. A simple approach: build a list of 50 to 100 names, past coworkers, managers, cross-functional partners. Send a short update: what you're offering, who it's for, 1 example result, and how to refer. The key is not to ask for a job. Ask for introductions to someone with a problem. Channel 2. Borrowed trust through specialists. If you can partner with people who already have client trust, you can become their go-to implementer or advisor. Examples: accountants and fractional CFOs, boutique agencies, compliance firms, MSPs and security consultants, recruiters who place contractors. Your pitch is, I make you look good and reduce your delivery risk. Channel 3. Targeted outbound. Small list, high relevance. Mass cold email is mostly dead. Targeted outbound still works if it reads like you actually understand the business. Rules for targeted outbound. Build a list of 30 to 50 companies with the right profile. Research a specific trigger: funding, leadership change, product launch, audit deadline, hiring for a role you could contract. Propose a small paid first step. You are aiming for relevance, not volume. Channel 4. Proof assets, public, searchable, specific. In the AI era, people can generate content endlessly. Generic content is ignored. Specific proof is still powerful. Proof assets that work. A 1-page case study. Problem, approach, result. A teardown of a real situation, anonymized. A short How I Do X in 10 Days guide. A template or checklist that signals competence. One strong proof asset can replace dozens of weak posts. Channel 5, Marketplaces. Use tactically, not as your identity. Freelance platforms can be useful early, but they can also trap you in low rates and commoditized categories. If you use them, do it strategically. Niche down hard. Use them to get 1 to 3 case studies. Then, graduate to direct relationships and retainers. Think of marketplaces as a temporary liquidity source, not a long-term home. How to use AI as leverage without becoming replaceable. AI can help you draft faster, analyze faster, prototype faster, and automate repetitive tasks. But the goal isn't to become the AI person. The goal is to become the person who can deliver outcomes reliably because you use AI well. The leverage ladder, from commodity to defensible. 1. AI for speed. You produce more per hour. 2. AI for consistency. Checklists, automated tests, QA patterns reduce errors. 3. AI for better decisions. Scenario modeling, risk identification, option generation. 4. AI plus domain constraints. You know what not to do, what won't pass compliance, what will break in production, what customers actually accept. 5. AI plus accountability. You own the outcome. This is the hardest to replace. Most people stop at level 1. Clients pay more at levels 3 to 5. Your AI operating procedure becomes a selling point. Without oversharing proprietary methods, you can describe your process in a way that increases trust. How you validate outputs, how you avoid hallucinations and incorrect citations, how you handle sensitive data, how you ensure reproducibility. In 2026 to 2030, many buyers will have been burned by low-quality AI-assisted work. Quiet professionalism becomes an advantage. Operational discipline, the back office that keeps you alive. Remote income fails as often from messy operations as from lack of skill. You're not just a worker. You're a small business. You need a minimum viable company of one system. Contracts and scope control. Most conflict comes from unclear scope. Your contract doesn't have to be fancy, but it must define deliverables, timeline, payment terms, what counts as out of scope, how changes are handled. The simplest scope control tool is a written assumption section. What you need from the client, what tools access they provide, what happens if they delay inputs. This prevents the common trap, a 2-week project that stretches to 8 because the client can't respond. Payment discipline, reduce the client credit risk. In a volatile economy, client payment risk rises. Protect yourself. Collect a deposit for fixed scope projects. Bill retainers upfront. Use milestone payments. Avoid net 60 terms unless the client is extremely reliable. One unpaid invoice can do more damage to your household plan than a market fluctuation because it hits cash flow and morale at the same time. Time zones and availability rules, especially if you relocate. If you geo-arbitrage, time zones can become either a superpower or a stressor. 2 workable models. U.S. overlap model. You keep 3 to 5 hours of overlap with U.S. time zones for meetings. Deep work happens outside overlap. Async first model. You sell documentation, weekly deliverables, and limited meeting windows. Do not drift into 24/7 availability to compensate for time difference. That's not resilience. It's slow burnout. Security and privacy basics. Remote work increases exposure. Shared Wi-Fi, cross-border access, device theft. You don't need paranoia, but you do need baseline discipline. Separate devices or profiles for client work. Strong authentication. Encrypted storage where appropriate. Clear rules for what client data can be put into AI tools. Clients with sensitive data will ask. Having a calm, professional answer wins trust. 3 remote income playbooks. Pick one to start. Many readers will try to design the perfect plan and end up stuck. A better approach is to pick one playbook. Execute for 60 to 90 days, then refine. Playbook A, the fast bridge contract, 0 to 30 days to income. Best for people who need income soon and have a recognizable functional skill. Update LinkedIn for contracting clarity, not job seeking. Available for contract, role. Reach out to former coworkers and managers with a specific ask. Do you know a team that needs temporary help with X? Accept a contract that is not your dream job if it stabilizes runway. While contracting, build a small proof asset and start a retainer path. Goal: stabilize cash flow quickly, then pivot from time for money to packages. Playbook B, the productized consultant, 30 to 90 days to stability. Best for people with domain expertise and the ability to define outcomes. Define one niche and one flagship package. 10 to 15-day sprint. Create one-page landing doc plus one case study, even if small. Do targeted outreach and partnership outreach. Convert the sprint into a retainer. Goal: predictable pipeline and higher effective rates without needing a large audience. Playbook C. The specialist freelancer. Immediate start, long-term niche. Best for people with a strong craft and the ability to deliver repeatable assets. Choose one deliverable you can produce fast with high quality. Create 2 to 3 portfolio examples tailored to a niche. Use platforms tactically, plus direct outreach. Build repeat clients and move to fixed price packages. Goal: repeatable delivery, reduce sales friction, eventual premium niche. The 500K advantage. Use capital to buy positioning, not lifestyle. Many households make a subtle mistake. They use capital to delay confronting the labor market. They downshift living costs, good, but then they wait for the right job, dangerous. A better use of the 500K advantage is to buy positioning, a quiet workspace and reliable equipment, a short course or credential that directly supports your offer. Travel to meet a key client or attend a niche conference strategically. Time to build proof assets and refine packaging. The ability to say no to toxic clients. Capital should reduce desperation. Desperation is what pushes you into underpriced work, bad contracts, and burnout. The defense budget applies to income building too. Chapter 3 introduced the idea of a defense budget, money reserved for resilience. Treat your income plan the same way. Set aside a small, explicit budget for software and tools, bookkeeping, tax prep, legal templates, co-working if it increases output, marketing experiments. This is not vanity spending. It's operational readiness. Common failure modes and how to avoid them. Remote income is simple in concept and tricky in execution. The same patterns repeat. Failure mode. Chasing every opportunity. If you accept any type of work, you become unpositioned. You also can't build repeatable processes. Fix. Choose a lane and a niche for 60 to 90 days. You can broaden later. Failure mode. Underpricing because you're scared. Underpricing creates the worst clients and forces you into overwork, which ruins delivery, which ruins referrals. Fix. Price to allow for rework, communication, and quality. If you're unsure, start with a slightly higher price and offer a smaller scope. Failure mode. Letting scope expand silently. Scope creep destroys margins and relationships. Fix. Write down deliverables and assumptions. Track changes. Use "we can add that as a phase 2" as a default sentence. Failure mode. Becoming dependent on one client. One client can feel like safety until it ends. Fix. Keep pipeline activity as a non-negotiable weekly habit even when busy. 1 hour per day is enough if it's consistent. Failure mode. Selling AI instead of selling outcomes. Clients don't want prompts. They want results. Fix. Use AI internally but market the outcome and the reliability of your process. A 30-day action plan, from zero to first remote revenue. This is a practical sequence designed for a household that wants momentum and psychological relief. Week 1. Define and package. Pick your lane. Freelance, contract, consulting. Write one outcome-based offer. Draft a 1-page service sheet. Who it's for, the problem, what you deliver, timeline, price range or starting price, next step, call or paid diagnostic. Keep it simple. You can improve later. Week 2. Build proof and a small list. Create one proof asset, mini case study or teardown or a sample deliverable. Build a list of 30 warm contacts and 20 target companies. Week 3. Outreach with a clear ask. Send warm outreach messages with your offer, one example of impact, request for an introduction. Do 10 targeted outbound messages to the best fit companies. Track responses, follow up once. Week 4. Close a small first step. Offer a paid sprint diagnostic as the entry point. Write a simple agreement. Collect deposit. Deliver fast and clean. Ask for one of testimonial, referral, conversion to retainer. The main objective is not perfection. It is to get the first cycle completed. Sell, deliver, get paid, generate trust. Once you've done that once, you can do it again with more confidence and better pricing. Integrating remote income with geo arbitrage without creating new fragility. Chapter 4 emphasizes that geo-arbitrage is a system. Bankable, calm. Remote income must fit that system. A few integration principles keep you stable. Keep payment rails simple. Clients should pay you through mainstream methods that won't break when you cross borders. Maintain a U.S. financial footprint. Many clients are more comfortable paying a U.S. person with U.S. accounts, even if you live abroad. Design your schedule intentionally. If your base country is far from U.S. time zones, choose an async-friendly offer or commit to a clear overlap window. Don't let cheap living reduce professional standards. The more portable your life becomes, the more you need reliable devices, connectivity, backups, and disciplined routines. Remote income is not just work from anywhere, it is operate from anywhere. Closing, the calm income system. In a normal economy, employment can be a default. In the AI labor shock era, stable employment is often a bonus, and for many households, it becomes something you return to later, after you've rebuilt leverage and credibility in a changed market. Freelance, consulting, and contract work are not simply ways to make money online. They are ways to reassert agency when institutions become slower and more selective. They allow you to compress the time from effort to income, diversify income sources, sell outcomes rather than titles, and keep your household stable while you adapt. The next chapter builds on this cash flow foundation and shifts from selling your time and expertise to building a lean, high-tech business, something that can scale beyond you, even with minimal capital, in a world where AI makes small teams unusually powerful.